Hi everyone. I hope you're all doing fantastic. This is your host, The Strange Connector, and welcome to the long-awaited follow-up to my very first video on this channel. If you haven't seen that one yet, there's a link in the description and another should be popping up in the top right corner of your screen right about now. That'll take you straight to my first video if you'd like to check it out before diving into this one. In that video, I shared my discovery of a truly gorgeous sketchbook I stumbled across in a shop in Italy, and how that led me to find its maker, the artisanal paper company VICEVERSA, who are based in the town of Fabriano. Before we get into it, I want to be completely transparent. While I may go on quite a bit about how lovely VICEVERSA's paper is, I have no affiliation with them whatsoever. I'm just a curious new customer who bought everything you'll see in this video with my own money. So all opinions are entirely my own, and everything I've learned has come from lots of buying, testing, asking questions, and then more testing to double check what I'd found. Also worth noting, I am not a professional painter, just a very enthusiastic amateur, so please take my opinions, as always, with a pinch of salt. Now, when I first started planning this video, I very naively thought it would be a pretty straightforward process, but it's ended up being my most labor-intensive video to date. I filmed around 9 hours of footage to start with, and then went back and filmed even more until I'd lost count, frankly. I've spent literal weeks editing everything into something vaguely coherent for you, my poor audience. And eventually I had to split the content into 3 separate videos rather than follow a simple timeline, because as I kept going, I uncovered so much new information that parts of my earlier footage became obsolete, incomplete, or just plain wrong. So now there are 3 parts. Part 1, which you're watching now, covers every type of loose handmade paper currently available from VICEVERSA's website. I'll be doing a whole range of fairly incompetent tests using various media on each of them in this video. Part 2, which is a different video, is where I paint a complete piece on a sheet of VICEVERSA's handmade 300 GSM 100% cotton paper. This one's my personal favourite of the 3, as it really shows the paper at its best, especially since I feel I kind of botched the testing in the other 2 videos, but maybe I'm just being too harsh on myself, I don't know. And part 3, the third video, takes a look at the sketchbooks specifically and reveals that the paper in the 140 GSM sketchbooks is actually different from what I'd been expecting. So if you're considering buying one of their sketchbooks, I recommend holding off until you've watched part 3. And don't worry, it's not bad news, but it did cause me a lot of confusion, which is part of why it's taken me so long to make another VICEVERSA video after my first video several months ago. Hopefully, my experience can save you from the same rabbit hole. And if you make it that far and don't want to strangle me from boredom, then at that point you will know all there is to know, or at least all that I know. I will also add timestamps in the descriptions of all 3 videos, so you can skip any parts you find less interesting. And once all 3 videos are live, I'll link to each in the description below, and you'll see clickable links pop up in the top right corner of this video as well. Blah, 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 blah. Let's get on with part 1 then, shall we? So this is the VICEVERSA website, and these are all the types of handmade loose sheets of paper that you can buy from them. And you can see you can also buy little bundles of paper, but I think they're less good value than buying sheets. And this is how the paper arrives, the loose paper, when you order it. So it's well wrapped, it's all wrapped by hand in this cellophane, well protected, and the cardboard keeps it in place. So first up, the handmade watercolor paper coarse grained, which is the rough paper. It's available in 300 and 600 GSM in a variety of sizes. It's 100% cotton, cold pressed, air dried on wooden drying racks, uncut edges, so they mean deckled, white. Yeah. So this is how it looks. Yeah, you can see the texture and the deckled edges, the handsome deckled edges. It feels quite thick, actually. It's really thick for 300 GSM, which I'm really impressed with. And the texture is kind of irregular. Don't know if you can see it here. So, and here's where I've torn it. So 2 of the edges are deckled. That's how it arrived, with all deckled edges. And the other 2 edges are where I've torn it. And you can see how nicely it tears as well. So it's really robust, really thick. So here I'm comparing it with 2 other papers that I thought might be similar. So one of them is Two Rivers paper, and you can see the comparison of texture. So the texture is irregular, but it's different from Two Rivers as well. And here is the Eco paper from Jackson's, which also has the rough paper has a kind of, yeah, it's got a different texture. So the cold press is very regular, and the rough paper is kind of more textured. So the rough paper from VICEVERSA reminds me like a very, very rough version of, you know, the kind of texture that you get in an ash paper, maybe. But in thickness, yes, it's comparable to these other papers. So they feel thicker than your traditional 300 GSM paper. Then next up, we've got handmade watercolor paper, fine grained, which is cold pressed. So handmade paper, 100% cotton, cold pressed, and air dried on wooden drying racks, uncut edges, they mean deckled. Fine grained watercolor paper, weight from 300 GSM to 600 GSM. And here's how it looks. So same thing, you can see some of the edges are deckled and some are torn. The torn one is because I've torn it. So yeah, these ones is where I have torn them. So you can see how very nicely they tear as well. And I'll give you a little demo of tearing later. You just need to bend it and just tear it, and it tears beautifully. Next up, we've got the 100% cotton, cold pressed, air dried, wooden drying racks, sorry, uncut edges, blah, 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 satin grained, which is hot press, which also comes in a variety of sizes, 300 GSM, 600 GSM. I got the 300 GSM one. So here you can see what it looks like. So these are 2 sheets of the hot press, well, 2 sheets, two torn bits. So you can see on 2 sides it's got the deckled edge, and on the other 2 sides is where I've torn it. And the texture is very smooth, and it's got kind of like a silky feel to it. I can't really explain it, but it's very thick, very extremely smooth, but kind of, I don't know, you can really feel the cotton in these papers. And here are all 3 papers. You can see the different textures. So you've got your rough on the left, cold press in the middle, and hot press on the right. So you can really see the difference between these 3 and the variety of texture. And where it's textured, you can really see that it's an irregular texture, which I really like. And this one, on the other hand, the handmade paper, 140 GSM, is very different from the others. So it comes in a variety of tints that you can see here, and in a variety of sizes as well. It's gelatin sized. It doesn't have any bleaching, and they say it's ideal for a variety of media. The texture is very different from the others. It's kind of in between cold press and hot press as a texture. So this was my order and how much I paid for it. And I ordered one of each of these 300 GSM cotton sheets. And then I ordered a variety of tints of the 140 GSM sheets. But I realized when I was shooting this video that VICEVERSA made a mistake. So they sent me bigger sheets that they should have for the 140 GSM, because I only paid 80 euro cents, and instead of sending me 19 by 14, they sent me, I think they were quarter imperial sheets, so much bigger, like 4 times the size than I should have gotten. So they were like 270, like I think they're 270 if you buy the larger sheets. I hope I put them to very good use with my testing. So here you can see the paper in the 140 GSM loose sheets, and it's very similar in texture to the Fabriano Vergatone that I'm showing you here. Very, very similar texture. So if you've got Vergatone, this is very similar texture, and it looks very similar. However, the paper in the Vergatone sketchbooks is a mixture of cellulose and cotton, whereas the loose sheets by VICEVERSA are 100% cotton. But I was showing it to you because it's a very similar texture, and also because it costs less than the Fabriano Vergatone paper. I got a variety of different colors to see if they would behave differently, and actually they do feel a little bit different. Some of them feel a bit stiffer than others, but that's also because being handmade, using kind of ancient methods on racks, and the thickness will vary slightly, or the texture will vary slightly. There might be some slight imperfections, etc., etc., etc. So this is not factory made paper. And a bit of discoloration, as you see. So that's all part and parcel of this kind of paper. And also I wonder if the different dyes used in tinting the paper might also affect it a little bit. So it will be interesting to test it and see if every paper behaves the same or if it behaves differently as well as a result, which it shouldn't do, hopefully. So yeah, this one feels kind of stiffer than the other ones as well. It's very difficult to explain. I mean, they don't look thinner or thicker. They just feel a little bit different, and it's a minimal difference though. The softest feeling one is the ivory one, just so you know. So here I've got a bunch of mixed media supplies, pastels, pens, my Daniel Smith watercolors. So I'm all set for testing, and I'm showing you how this paper tears, how easily it tears, and what to do to tear it. So it's very clean, and you get this very handsome torn edge where you can really see the cotton fiber. So even if I didn't know that this was cotton, it's really clear. Once you tear it, you actually see the fiber, especially in this 300 GSM paper. So here I'm showing you how thick it is and how stiff. It's almost like card. So with this one, you would have to use a bone folder. I couldn't find my bone folder. I always lose everything. So I'm using this paperweight. But yeah, use a bone folder if you've got it. You can even use your nails or your, yeah, whatever. See how easily it tears, and then you get that nice edge with all the fiber showing. Here are all my torn different types of paper. So I've got 2 of each, and I'm going to use 2 of each for testing. Starting off with watercolor on the rough 100% cotton handmade paper. I've never used rough watercolor paper before, so I didn't know what to expect. So I haven't really got anything to compare it to. But Do you see how the paint dries? It doesn't go into the grooves of the paper, so it's got this dry brush effect. So I think that's part of how the paper is meant to behave and look like, but I didn't know. I didn't have anything to compare it to. And also, I hadn't painted in over a month because I've just been too busy with my coursework. Yeah, and I couldn't tell whether it was me or the paper. So I think that if you're painting on rough paper, you probably need to either wet the paper beforehand, which now I'm testing, or use much, much more water than I used here. But I didn't know what I was doing, so I was just trying things out. Or embrace the kind of dry brush effect. But I can tell it's 100% cotton from the way it behaves. Next up, I did the same on the cold press paper. And again, I felt really incompetent doing this, to the point where I had to get a spare piece of paper, not this paper, another cotton paper, and test on that to see if it was me or the paper. And spoiler, it was me being incompetent and not having practiced watercolour in a really long time. But hopefully you can see how the paper behaves. Again, it's clearly cotton paper. I can't really explain it, but like you feel it when you use it. And you can also see the fibre. But I was being really terrible. I'm so sorry. And I don't really know what I'm doing. So if you want to suggest anything for me to do in future tests, I would really welcome any suggestions. Next, I did the hot press paper, and the hot press paper really surprised me. I don't usually use hot press. Yeah, and this behaved like I would expect cold press paper to behave. Oh, oops, cat hair. Sorry, I'm trying to remove a cat hair here. And it's just, there's something about the texture of it that I really love, and the way the paint looks on it. Yeah, it's just really vibrant for some reason. And I don't know, it just feels so silky to the touch. Yeah, I just thought it was really interesting. So that's why I decided to do a painting on this paper rather than the cold press one. You can even see the fibres of the cotton in that swatch. There's little veins. Yeah, I just think that's beautiful. Yeah, feel free again to make suggestions for testing, because I literally don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just kind of trying to get a feel of the paper for myself. But I don't know if this is helpful to anybody else. So yeah, feel free to suggest tests that I could be doing that would be better for you for the future. I mean, I don't have a lot of this paper, so, you know, like I'm not going to be able to do it on this paper unless I order some more. But yeah, for the future, for different types of paper, feel free to make suggestions, because I'm useless. I can tell that this paper is very nice paper and it's cotton, but I'm doing a utterly rubbish job. So here I decided to wet it again so that I can put some paint into the wet paper. I don't know why I didn't think to just literally like soak it, but yeah, I didn't. Sorry. Yeah, and I'm just putting more of the paint and just see how it moves around. Oh, but isn't it lovely to see watercolor move in water? I love it so much. So here I'm doing all the same testing, but this time on the 140 GSM paper, still with my Daniel Smith watercolor. And I decided to do these tests on all of my tinted sheets to see if there are any differences between the different colors of sheets. So here I'm doing more of my weird, incompetent watercolor testing. And yeah, I mean, the paper behaves like 100% cotton paper, but it does feel very different from the other paper. This maybe feels a bit more like the kind of paper you would be used to if you buy paper commercially. It's a similar texture to cold press maybe. Yeah, and it handles in that kind of way. Please let me know if there's anything that you'd like me to do in future tests that you'd find helpful. Because I'm learning, so I would find it really helpful to have yeah, if you tell me what you think would be good, I can try and do it, and then you can learn from me and I can learn from you. And here I'm displaying my fantastic ability to swatch watercolors outside the frame. Yep, fantastic, well done. Totally, yep, great. Hand, move up, no, up, there we go. Great, that's better. Sorry about that. So yeah, so by the time I reached the pink paper, I could already tell that no matter the tint, the 140 GSM loose sheets all behave in the same way and they feel the same to use. That said, if you want the softest paper, the one that feels the softest to the hand is the ivory one, but they all behave similarly. Yeah, and the only difference is the tone of the paper. So if you're doing watercolor, you should think about that, about what tone you want to come through. So here I'm doing the same thing, and yeah, I hope you're not falling asleep. And here I'm doing it on the ivory paper, which is the one that's not tinted. It's kind of natural, kind of like natural ivory. So yeah, and you can see it behaves like cotton paper. I'm doing my really terrible swatching. In fact, I think I really need to replace my brush, because that brush, the tip of the brush is kind of not very happy, because I haven't been treating it very nicely. But yeah, but now I'm using my brush as an excuse for my incompetence. Yeah, so that's what we've come to. Sorry, brush. It's actually a very good brush. I have mistreated it, but yeah, it's a number 8 silver black velvet. It's a travel brush from the travel set, from the travel range. Yep, here I'm doing the same thing again on the green this time, and as you can see, it behaves in the same way, handles watercolor the same way, as far as I can tell, and it feels like cotton paper. And oh, the yellow looks really nice on it, to be honest. Here is the ivory paper. Yeah, so if you want this paper and you want your watercolors to kind of have the natural color, then pick that one. Otherwise, I find these kind of fun, actually, the colored papers. It'll be really nice for gouache, I think. Yeah, so the texture feels different, a little bit different. Yeah, between the green one and the ivory one, but they behave the same. Here I decided to fully wet a piece of the 300 GSM paper to see if it would buckle. And because it's quite thick, it didn't really buckle much, but it did kind of bend upwards. And I think if you wet both sides, it might not do that actually. Whereas the 140 GSM paper, as expected, I mean, it's thin paper, The 140 buckled, so you might want to weigh it down or tape it down or stretch it. But when it dries, it does tend to dry flat. That's quite nice. Here I was doing some lifting tests. The paint lifts readily. Although you can see the blue is lifting a bit more than the red does, because the red is more staining. That's to be expected. Some pigments lift more readily than others. I think the blue is a French ultramarine. Here I am trying some mixed media on all these papers. So I'm starting with the rough, and I'm using Ecoline. Yeah, it works fine with the Ecoline brush, which is water-soluble ink. And the paper takes it really nicely and doesn't go through at all, even though I put quite a lot down there. It does leave a little bit of a mark, but it's quite good for Ecoline. So now I'm doing the same with my Pentel, I can't remember what these are called, the Pentel Color brush or something like that. So which are also water-soluble inks. And yeah, it's dissolving beautifully. So I would prefer using this type of brush pen rather than the Ecoline, just because the paper is quite rough and it might fray the Ecoline after a while. So you can see the Neocolor works fine as well, but it leaves a bit of a mark. And on the other hand, the watercolor pencils, I'm using Albrecht Dürer here, melt beautifully with no marks at all. So now I'm testing with the Museum Aquarelle by Caran d'Ache. And they also dissolve beautifully. So yeah, this paper looks quite good for watercolor pencils. So here I'm doing the same thing, and the reason I wrote is to see if the writing disappears. Yeah, so it leaves a bit of a mark, and that's to be expected because the paper is quite soft. So yeah, any kind of writing will leave an indentation, and that's where the paint will collect once it's dissolved. So acrylic seems to work fine, not a problem. Now moving on to the cold press. So I'm doing the same thing. I put the acrylic pen down, and now I'm putting Caran d'Ache Museum Aquarelle, which is a watercolor pencil. It's water soluble. And same thing on the cold press, it seems to dissolve fine. So this paper seems fine for watercolor pencils. And I'm trying with the Neocolor, and I'm doing the same thing where I'm writing to see if the writing dissolves. And it takes a little bit of work. It's fine. It works fine. So Neocolor works fine on this paper. Yeah, and again, so this is the Albrecht Dürer pencil by Faber-Castell, which are also watercolor pencils and dissolve fine. Same with the Pentel color brush and the Ecoline as well. And I'm kind of chuffed because I'm looking for paper for my Ecoline. Yeah, I'm trying the hot press paper, same thing. A new color. Trying the Albrecht Dürer pencil. Sorry, the camera battery finished, that's why it jumped. And the Pentel brush pen. And this is a Pentel pigment pen, which is permanent ink. Here I'm trying the Count Dash. And once again, they dissolve really nicely. So this paper seems pretty nice for these kind of water-soluble media. But keep in mind, you should keep your pencil quite light when you put it down because the paper indents quite easily. So here I'm just kind of making a big mess with the Ecoline, just to see how much ink I can put down, if the paper peels or not. It goes fluffy, I don't know if you can see, because it's got a fluffiness about it, this paper, but it doesn't really peel. And nothing comes through. So this is on the thin paper, the 140 GSM. And honestly, I was really surprised with how nicely it behaved with these wet mixed media. So it liked the Neocolor, it liked the acrylic, it's fine with pencil. Pencil dissolved fine. I mean, I'm not doing a super great job, but that's me, not the paper. But it seemed to kind of take, at this stage, take everything I threw at it. So I put lots and lots and lots of Ecoline, because sometimes paper peels, thinner paper especially, with Ecoline brush pens. And no, nothing happened. And here I put loads and loads and loads of water. The reason I do this with the pigment brush pens is because if you put enough ink on a thin piece of paper, it'll just go straight through. And that, for example, happens to me a lot with Cardi. With these pens, the ink will just get through to the other side. And here, not at all. I mean, I'll show you in a minute. It took the Ecoline, it took the Pentel brush pens, both the pigment and the water-soluble ones. It's behaving just fine with the Albrecht Dürer as well, dissolves really nicely, the colours look nice and bright. The Neocolor also dissolves on here, but again you have to be careful not to press down too hard. Same thing on the green paper, so by now I was just testing one tinted sheet because I realised that they kind of behave all the same, so there was no point in continuing testing on every single sheet and boring you to death, and myself. So here I'm putting a lot of water on an Ecoline swatch, and here I'm doing the Albrecht Dürer pencil again. Not Albrecht Dürer, sorry, the Museum Aquarelle. And yeah, it's dissolving just fine. Looks good. I mean, it looks green because the paper is green. Why did I do another swatch? Maybe it's because it was in the corner at the bottom. Anyway, yeah, you can see how nicely it dissolves. And this is the Pentel, whatever it's called, brush pen, art brush, yeah, color brush, I can't remember. I'll put the description or something. This one is the pigment one. And I seem to be doing it twice. I hadn't realized that I'd already done it. And now that I'm seeing this video, I did it twice. Okay, doesn't hurt to do it twice. So this is the back. As you can see, nothing at all came through, not even the Ecoline. I put lots of Ecoline just straight up from the pen and nothing came through, nothing at all. So I would say it's quite well sized, this paper. And it's sturdy as well. On this, be really careful not to press down too hard, and otherwise everything works fine. Yeah, everything looks good. This is the ivory paper. So now I'm testing with more mixed media, but dry, non-water soluble media, I mean by dry. So these are the tempera sticks. This is a Pitt Artist Pen by Faber-Castell, which is ink. And then here I'm putting some Holbein pencils. And the reason this time I'm putting Holbein pencils is because they're quite a soft pencil, but they also work with this Melts, which is a pencil blending liquid. Unfortunately, I had to use a brush instead with the Melts because my tip was really frayed, so I couldn't really use it. So here I'm using it in a brush. I'm using one of these cheaper brushes because I don't want to ruin a nice brush with it. It melts fine. And here I'm trying a kind of circle shape. I don't know what it is. It's not a sphere. It's not, I don't know. It's just a blob. It's just to see how the pencil melts with the melts fluid. So yeah, it melts fine, but because the paper is rough paper, it's very textured, so you can really see the pencil marks. And here I was trying, out of curiosity, the melts on the tempera sticks. It didn't do anything, and any staining that you see was just stuff that was on my brush. So here I'm using the Derwent Light Fast pencil. And here I'm trying to make smaller movements to see if there's a way of filling the grain of the paper. And you kind of can a bit better if you do teeny tiny circular movements. It obviously takes longer to do, but you still get the texture of the paper because this is rough paper. So it might not be the best for pencils unless you want to see that rough texture, which might be something that you want. Yeah, so here I'm trying with the circular motions again. But you're not going to get into the tooth of this paper at all unless you use a solvent. And here I'm using the Derwent blender pen, which I believe is alcohol. And the reason I'm using that is because the Melts doesn't really work with these pencils. And conversely, the Derwent alcohol blender doesn't work with the Holbein pencils. So here I'm doing Faber-Castell now, the color you see me laying down. And this yellow as well, it's still Faber-Castell, the Polychromos. I don't know why I picked those colors because it's just going to make mud. But as you can see, the Polychromo also dissolves when using Melts fluid. It's non-toxic, by the way. And here I'm comparing that out of interest with the Holbein pencil. And you can see they both melt just as well as one another. So if you're interested in melts, you can use it with a variety of pencils, but not all pencils, and vice versa. Not all other solvents or blending pens will work. So here, out of interest, I was trying the melts on this bit of tempera stick, and it didn't do anything. So I don't know what I was doing. And this is the Luminance. And the Luminance also, just so you know, doesn't work with the melts. But it does work with the Derwent alcohol blending pen, as you can see. And this paper takes it just fine. However, it is, again, very, very textured paper, so you're going to get texture marks. And here, just because I'm a maverick, I tried some alcohol marker on it, just to see what would happen. And actually, I was pretty impressed, but I don't know if I would recommend using alcohol markers on this paper because it's rough and it might damage the tip over time. And here I'm trying with Progresso pencils because they are my hardest pencils, or at least they feel the hardest when I use them, and I just wanted to see how hard pencils would work. And I tried blending them as well with the melts, out of curiosity. And then on this side, I tried just putting down NeoColor to see. The same thing, you get the texture of the paper, which you might like or which you might not like. But I think if you built several layers, you could probably get rid of the texture with the NeoColors. Here I'm using Mungyo oil pastels. Which are very similar to the NeoPastels by Caran d'Ache. They're kind of firm, but they smudge very well. Yeah, and I was surprised by how nice it felt to use them on this paper. But you know, you might have to put a bit more to cover the texture, or use the cold press as I'm doing later on. You will see. But yeah, it seems really, really nice for our pastels actually. So I think that if I put, see, I liked it so much I kept going. I think if I put down more NeoColor, it probably would have filled the grain of the paper a bit better actually. So here I'm doing the same testing on the cold press paper though, if you're still with me and you're not bored to death. I started with Holbein. And I think I'm putting some dry down, and now I'm going to put some that I'm going to use the Melts blending liquid on. Sorry, the battery finished, so there was a cut. And this is the Faber-Castell Polychromos. Making some nice mud probably. If I put the yellow and that nice purple together, it's going to make a very nice mud in the middle. Let's see if that happens. Yeah, it's getting muddier. Come on. Yeah, very nice brown. Yeah, muddy. I don't know why I picked those two colors. Oh, and I'm spreading the mud around. The more the merrier. Yeah, anyway, it works. On this paper, it works. It makes mud because I picked the wrong colors, but it works. And this is the Darwin Lightfast pencil. And once again, you do see the texture of the paper, so you might want that, you might not want that. I would prefer not to see the texture in this case. I like seeing some texture, but not quite so much. So here I'm trying making smaller motions to see what would happen. And yeah, you can feel the grain of the paper a bit better. If you use a solvent though, the grain of the paper gets filled, the solvent. Same thing, I'm putting the Caran d'Ache down, the Luminance pencil. And I'm gonna do some dry, and on some of it I'm gonna use the Darwin blender pen, which is an alcohol pen. So this is probably gonna go through to the other side because it's alcohol. And here I am using the tempera sticks. I don't know if you know them, but they feel a bit like oil pastel, but they dry fairly quickly. And this is the NeoColor. Yeah, and again, I found that these go down really nicely. Both oil pastels and NeoColor went down quite nicely on this paper, actually. So you can very easily finger blend. Yeah, it just feels really, really nice. Then I tried alcohol marker, which again, I'm being adventurous. It's not super recommended. People do use it on watercolor paper, but it does kind of drink up your ink really quickly if you use it on watercolor paper. And keep in mind, I haven't used alcohol markers in about a year. I can't remember how to use them, so I don't know what I'm doing. But I do really like them. Yeah, and as expected, it went through to the other side, but it's the only thing that went through to the other side. And here I tried with some dry pastels, very quickly stopped because I hate the feeling of them on my fingers, and moved on to the hot press paper. So to the Pit Artist pen, and now I'm doing the alcohol markers on the hot press paper. And the entire table is shaking for some reason. Or maybe it's not the table and it's the camera, I don't know, something was shaking. Maybe it was me shaking. Maybe I was laughing at my efforts, at my poor efforts. So, yeah, I mean, even though I'm doing a terrible job with the alcohol markers, they kind of blend themselves on this paper, which is nice. And then when I put the Neo colour down, I was really impressed. It just looked fantastic, I thought. It just looks almost like an oil pastel on this paper. And then I tried finger blending it, just to see if it would finger blend. And it does. I just kept going. So I'd say if for whatever reason this paper, like the sizing goes bad or whatever, I use it for oil pastels and Neo colours, because it's lovely for that. Really nice. Look at that. It just takes the oil pastel really nicely. I mean, it's a hot press, but I think it's that fluffiness or something. I don't know, it just grips onto the pastels really nicely. So here I'm trying with another creamy medium, the tempera sticks, and those look lovely on it as well. And then back to the Holbein pencils. And on here, because it's hot press paper, you can see the texture doesn't show as much. However, I was a bit surprised because when I tried the 140 GSM paper from VICEVERSA, the pencils look brilliant on it. And on this hot press paper, the 300 GSM, which does have a different texture, I don't know, I can't really explain it, but can you see? It's almost like it doesn't really want to take the pencil. Yeah, it looks a bit weak on it. And it took the watercolour pencils just fine. They looked great on it, but not the pencil. And I think it's because it has this kind of really soft, really fluffy, really lovely to the touch texture. And somehow that doesn't work. Like if it was a flatter, harder surface, maybe it would work. So it might not be the best for pencil. Unless it's watercolour pencil, of course. But I'm thinking, because it was so nice with Neo colour, it might be really, really nice with a waxier, like softer pencil, like a Prismacolor, for example. Yeah, so here I'm trying with the Darwin Lightfast, same thing. I mean, it's fine, it's fine. It's just kind of, it felt a bit like a bit of a waste to use this paper for this. Whereas usually I really like hot press watercolour paper for pencil. I don't really use it for watercolour, normally I use it for pencil. And this didn't feel like that. I mean, it felt different. But yeah, so that's the one thing that I wouldn't recommend using on this dry pencil. But like, I think pastel pencils might work really nicely. Or very soft pencils like a Prismacolor. But definitely all pastels, definitely all pastels. Yeah, I'm trying with pastels, and again, you can see the fluffiness of the paper in the pastel, really. And I'm sorry I didn't keep going because I really hate the feel of pastels. Sensorially, I just can't take it. And with the graphite, it looks fine. This is the 140 GSM paper, so this has got a slightly different texture, and you can see it immediately. So it looks great with a pencil. So it takes the pencil fine, looks great. So you get a bit of texture, but you can keep going and you can feel it over time. And it feels different. It doesn't have that soft fluffiness, which is lovely for wet media, but not so great for the pencil. So this one feels I don't know how harder. I'm sorry, I don't know how to explain it, but like you can see, the pencil's doing pretty nicely on it, even though I'm doing a rubbish brush job. It looks alright. So you can't really see the pencil marks that much, and it looks nice and vibrant on it. So this is the Faber-Castell pencil. The top was a Holbein. And I'm just literally doing really, really quick swatches. I'm not properly doing this. It's just a quick look. And I'm dissolving it with the Melts by Holbein. And it's doing fine. I'm making very nice mud in the middle. Nice and muddy. Very nice. Ooh, fantastic. Very good mud. And here I'm putting down the Darwin Lightfast. And ooh, that looks really nice actually on this paper. That's nice. Yeah, and again, yeah, you can see the grain of the paper because it does have a grain. But if you work at it, you could feel that grain. And yeah, it seems to take the pencil fine, and the pencil looks nice on it, and looks nice and vibrant. So it's definitely okay for pencil. And here I'm putting down some luminance. Same thing. Doing a really poor job because I'm going really quickly. And that's not how I usually do pencil, but hey. I don't want to bore you even more than I'm already doing. Yep, more Caran d'Ache. Luminance. La 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 la. Putting the Darwin blender pen. Doing some weird stuff with the Pitt Artist pens. I mean, I'm putting lots of ink to see if it goes through to the other side, and it doesn't. And then putting some alcohol marker again, because why not? Since I'm trying everything, I might as well. You can see I'm doing a really poor job of it, but it seems to blend itself out, even though I'm not really blending it. I'm just kind of like, I'm doing it really, really poorly. But because it's cotton paper, the fibers just spread it out like they would with watercolour. And it's blending itself, basically. Here I'm trying with a really, really, really hard pencil, so I don't really like these pencils that much because they tire my arm out a lot, and I really like the way they look. But yeah, anyway, they looked fine on this paper. And here is the tempera stick. Again, looks great. Here I'm using the Neocolor. And this is Neocolor 1, by the way. It's not Neocolor 2. It's a non-water soluble one, which is harder than the Neocolor 2. And look at that. I mean, I was really impressed with this paper for pastels, actually. Takes the Neocolor beautifully. All pastel the same. So here I'm using the Mangio again. It's a bit confusing because I'm keeping these Mangio pastels in a Caran d'Ache Neo pastel box. All mixed up, but they're all Mangios. The white is actually a Neo pastel though, this white. Look at that, just look at that, isn't that great? And then here I tried with, oh yeah, ooh. Yeah, but look on this paper how well the soft pastels mix. So these are Unison pastels. Look how beautiful. So definitely this paper is a winner when it comes to mixed media. If you want to use lots and lots and lots of different media. This paper is great. Conclusions. The rough paper took water-based media really nicely and water-soluble media really nicely, I had some trouble with the watercolor, but I think that's due to me and never having used this type of paper before. So you get that crackly texture because of the very, very rough texture of the paper. The other media, the tempera sticks, the pencils with the solvent, they all looked fine, except I wouldn't use dry pencils on this. One, because of the texture, unless you like the texture, and two, because maybe they don't take so well to this kind of very, very fluffy, cottony texture. But, it's not a fault of the paper. It's not made for this. It's made for watercolor, and they advertise it as a paper for watercolor, ink and things like that, not pencil. But yeah, an alcohol marker worked fine as well. And the oil pastel, that was the big kind of surprise. The oil pastel looks gorgeous on it. On all of these papers, in fact, the oil pastel is fantastic. Though I noticed I didn't try the dry pastels on this. I think I either forgot or I didn't want to because I hate touching dry pastels and I was too lazy to find some gloves, or either too lazy or I didn't think of it. And that's one of the reasons why I don't really use dry pastels, like soft pastels, and I really should use them. And the cold press, the watercolor looks great on it. I did a mess of it, but it was great. The paper felt quite thirsty though. Yeah, I should have used more water, I think. All the water-soluble media looked fantastic, behaved great. I did a rubbish job of it, but yeah, it was fine. It was fine for all of these media. Again, the pencil, you can see the texture of the pencil. So you might not want to use it for pencil specifically. The dry pastel didn't look that good on it either. The oil pastel, however, looked fantastic again. And the alcohol marker worked fine. I just did a rubbish, very lazy job with it. But yeah, the oil pastel seemed to be a win on this. And all the mixed media, the water-soluble stuff as well. And this paper, look how beautiful the colours look on here. So they really, really shine on here. I did a bit of a mess again, but it was fine for watercolour. Paint lifts really nicely. It looks so vibrant. It feels so pleasant to use. All the water-soluble media worked fantastically on it. Particularly, I was impressed with how I took the Pentel ink brush and the Ecoline. And also the Neocolor melted really, really nicely on it. And once again, the oil pastels looked glorious on it, even though I applied them, in a rush and really badly. And the Neocolor as well. The Neocolor looked great on it, the Neocolor one. The pencils didn't take too nicely to it. The watercolor pencils were great on it, but not the dry pencils or the soft pastels. You can really see the fiber of the paper. When I say the paper feels kind of fluffy, you can really see it in the soft pastel. And that is kind of a plus for certain media, like the oil pastels, but not for the soft pastels. And the handmade cotton paper 140 GSM is a beast of a paper. It seems to take basically anything you throw at it. So yeah, it's fantastic mixed media paper, I would say. And it takes watercolor beautifully because it's watercolor paper. So I was extremely pleased with it. And then you get all these interesting tints as well. But it doesn't have that kind of nice fluffiness to it. So it's more like the kind of paper you usually would use. And yeah, so this is the same 140 GSM paper. Again, you can see that it takes the watercolor nicely. Same thing as the green paper that I just showed you. It takes so many layers of Ecoline without pilling or without the ink going through. I was blown away, so I'm definitely going to use it for Ecoline. And the Pentel, a color brush pen as well, it goes on really nicely, which is really exciting to me because I like the Pentel color brush pens and I'm always on the lookout for paper to use them on. And then the soft pastel on this paper, fantastic. Again, on the 140 GSM paper, goes on really nicely. The oil pastel, really nice. Neocolor one, really nice. Definitely great for pastels. You can also use pencils on this. I mean, I applied them really badly, but yeah, they go down fine on this paper. So it's definitely a good mixed media paper, as well as being an actual watercolor paper. So it's an actual 100% cotton watercolor paper, but it can take anything else you throw at it, which is really great. If you work in watercolor and mixed media, get this paper out of all the papers for that reason. So that's it from me. I have been your host, The Strange Connector, and I'm hoping that although today's video was particularly rambly, it's still been helpful to you in some way, or, like I've kept you company. Maybe you've got me on in the background and you're not really listening and you just have me on as a background chatter. That's cool too. I do that all the time. I really enjoy doing that, listening to other people chatter in the background. and kind of tuning it in and out. So yeah, feel free to do that. I'm all for that, and happy to have kept you company in that case. And don't forget about the other 2 videos. And yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.